Bernie Sanders came out quickly in support of this. I've already mentioned that this evening, and John Lewis did too, and Minority Leader Pelosi was pretty strong over the weekend too, and there have been others. But where are the other leading liberals and Democrats? Do you have a sense that people are still hanging back, and what's going to get them to stop doing so?
This is no time to hang back. One of the biggest problems Democrats have is that they forget the power and the passion that the base of the party has. And actually, this is well beyond the Democratic Party. These are just working people all over the country, or people who want to work, who have just had it. To not understand the power of that kind of populism, to not encourage it, to not embrace it, is a huge mistake. This is not a time for cautious politics. This is not a time for saying, well, we better just go a little bit this way or that way. This is a time to fundamentally identify the crooked way this country is being run, the corruption of Wall Street, the ridiculous notion that very wealthy people are basically saying they shouldn't have to help us solve our problems. It's time to take it up a few notches, and I think every office holder and every leader in the country should say thank you to the people who are out there protesting.
Even Paul Krugman wrote in the New York Times today that the plutocrats are panicking. Is that your sense as well, and do they in fact have good reason to do so?
Yeah, and let's face it, sometimes it's even Democrats who are part of this money system, and so there's some nervousness, especially on the Republican side, certainly on Wall Street and Washington where the power structure is. My observation is they're very nervous that this might work. What sort of set me off on this, Keith, was making the mistake of watching Fox News in the morning the other day and watching these people, Varney and the others, mocking the protesters, making fun of the way they were dressed, saying they didn't have, a precise agenda, to which I said, they're not filing briefs at the Supreme Court. They're upset. And so my sense is that there is great fear that this sweet deal that a lot of these people have in both Washington and New York, this unholy alliance between our government and our media and the financial markets and the financial businesses, that this unholy alliance is finally being threatened and challenged. It is a threat. It is a threat and an attack on every working American, and it's time that we upset the apple cart. And I think they are nervous, and they know this has great potential.
All right, how do we upset the apple cart without you in office? And I don't mean that as to blow smoke anywhere, but quite seriously, everybody who's ever stood up for something needs to be on board. I'm not criticizing you for not being in office, but when will we see that happen again?
Well, look, being in office is not what it's all about. Obviously, it's one way to do it. I did that for 28 years. But to me, what we're dealing with here is a situation where Congress can't even vote to overturn Citizens United. You can't do that. The only way to do it is a mass public movement to make it very clear that this Supreme Court decision has to be overturned, that it is a direct attack on our democracy. So this goes beyond electoral politics and who's in office and who isn't. It's much more fundamental. And everybody, in or out of office, has to work together to try to turn this thing around. So that's where I'm focused on right now. And frankly, I like the freedom to be able to particularly focus on this issue. There were many other great issues when I was in the Senate, but this is the big overriding issue. This is what's destroying our democracy, Keith, as you know as well as anybody. Unlimited corporate contributions have to be stopped.